Hello, everyone. My name is Sophie, and I work for the German Consulate General in Vancouver. And I have the pleasure of doing an interview today with Heike Neumann. She is the Vice President and the Head of Human Resources of SAP Canada. And thank you so much, Mrs. Neumann, for taking your time for this interview today.
Thanks for having me, Sophie. It's a pleasure.
Awesome. As a first question, I would love to ask you if you could maybe, like in general terms, explain to us what SAP and SAP Canada generally do.
Sure. I suspect many of the viewers later on will know SAP from running SAP actually in their organizations. Today, we are the world's largest provider of enterprise application software. And we have grown pretty big. So we have 100,000 employees across the world. And we have locations almost in every country in the world. We are headquartered in Germany, in Walldorf. And some details about SAP Canada, of course. In Canada, we have been operating for 30 years now. We have 6 locations, Vancouver, Montreal, Waterloo, and Toronto, the biggest one being Vancouver. And we are pretty excited because we have all job functions and board areas basically represented in Canada. So whether it's sales, whether it's support, whether it's development, whether it is IT or admin functions, everything being present here in Canada. And we are particularly proud because Canada has kind of turned into the development hub for major SAP technology like analytics and our mega database HANA.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. How many people work at SAP Canada and how many in Vancouver specifically?
3,400 across Canada, and in Vancouver we have 1,400 employees.
Oh, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. And generally, usually do most of your employees work in the office, or have you always maybe had the option of doing home office as well?
Yeah, we have always been very, very flexible with our working arrangements. So we are pretty used to the concept of working from home.
Okay.
Also because we are a global organization and many people are part of virtual and remote teams. So this concept of working from home and also of working in a virtual environment is something that we are pretty used to. But now, of course, I mean, since March, we are all working from home, and that is a different situation. I mean, that is different to what we had before.
So you are still all working from home as of right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So since beginning of March, we started off to guide people to work from home, and mid of March, basically, we closed all offices across Canada. And since then, everyone is working from home.
Do you have any idea when you're going to be able to reopen the offices?
Yeah, that's also the question that, of course, our employees ask us all the time. And we are monitoring the situation. I mean, ultimately, for sure, when we open, we want to make sure that it is a safe environment that our employees can return to. So we're monitoring the situation daily. We are working on a reopening plan. It is clear to us that we will return to the offices, but we are also clear that we will return in a staggered approach, so in turns, so to speak.
Okay. And would you say that like the fact that all of the employees are now working from home has any positive or maybe also negative effect on the business?
Well, there are many things to call out here. I mean, first of all, it's a challenging situation. I mean, it's new to many people, but we also saw that it sparked great innovation within our own workforce, and that, yeah, just the innovation and creativity power of SAP kind of unfolded in this situation. And that is actually also how I know SAP. I think we typically thrive in challenging situations and let's say when difficult tasks come along.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a lot is different, of course. I mean, nowadays everyone works from home, so that means that we do everything virtually. We had to adjust all our processes to starting from sales up to HR, of course, to translate them into a virtual world. We had to look into our business activities. So, for example, our big customer activities, the big event Sapphire that we run every year. In the past, there was always a mega big event where people joined, of course, in person. Now that has completely turned into a virtual environment, and all our speakers joined virtually, and of course also the customers joined virtually. So there was lots going on here. And as I mentioned earlier on, it's a time where you also see great innovation coming along. So we do experiment intensively with the virtual format. We have moved so many activities into the virtual format, engagement activities, community building activities with our employees. And actually we realized that works pretty good and pretty well. And we are often really surprised how well it really works. And we also see, of course, that with travel not being an option at the moment, well, this just basically means people don't have to spend so much time sitting at airports, so they have more time to do other stuff. And me personally, I can also say, I mean, leading a team, I find this virtual setup connects you very strongly as a team. You bond very intensively. You share more about private life. You talk more about private life. And everyone is very eager to connect and to bond. So there are some upsides about it. There's no doubt about it.
That's very interesting. Yeah, thank you for sharing your thoughts on that. You already mentioned your customers. From your observations, could you tell us maybe about some like specific needs that many of them had in these challenging times?
Yeah, well, one big ask, of course, all these customers ask to us as SAP is, well, will the SAP solutions run stable and let's say non-disruptive? So that is one big concern, of course, because we are often, let's say, the skeleton of business processes in an organization. So that is always a big question that that customers ask. Now, secondly, of course, we do see every company is concerned about employees' well-being, like we are, of course. Everyone wants to find ways on how to make sure that people on the one hand side can be productive, but also really remain healthy. So there is a lot of interest in knowledge sharing at the moment around practices, procedures. And from the SAP perspective, we are always very eager to participate here. So just on Monday, I hosted a round table with other Canadian CHROs to share how we at SAP have translated our processes into the virtual format, and I have shared with them how we plan to go about our reopening plan. So that's a couple of things that are really high on people's mind. And of course, every customer tries to understand and predict really what are the implications of COVID-19 for my business, short term, but also long term. And yeah, that's a bit, I think, is what we saw from our customers.
Do you think there will be any like long-term changes also for SAP because of COVID-19?
Yeah, I think we are going to see a number of changes going forward, because we now, in this COVID-19 situation, also get used to new behaviors and see what works that eventually in the past we weren't so sure whether it would work. And again, let's talk about this working from home situation. I mean, while this has always been a concept for SAP and really strongly utilized, I'm sure that afterwards we might see more people picking up that behavior and saying, hey, I'm interested in really working 1 or 2 days from home, where in the past eventually they were amongst those colleagues who prefer to come into the office day by day. Or all these virtual meetings that we are currently running. It works. So the need to travel going forward is probably going to shrink. And I think we're going to see a number of changes here, also in the long run for SAP.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. That was already it.
All right.
Yeah. So thank you so much for having taken your time and for having given us an overview about how SAP is doing in these trying times. That was very interesting. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Sophie.